fishing industry, and that's what I'm so impressed, and I don't know why we don't have one of those dyes anymore here. We used to have one.
We'll fix that up.
All right. We need, it shows how these guys originally built these things, and and they hand did them on a little hand press. I just like a little hand press one. Cut them and then hand polished them and put them together and put them on a little card for 5 cents during the Depression years.
You told the story exactly right.
Did I? I'm hoping I'm right. I just read that and I see that little thing and I just think it's oh, I could take that either way. I don't know how that goes. Anyway, they've been great supporters of the museum, and we appreciate them. And we'll let you tell the story about Luhr Jensen. What amazes me is 40 years ago when I used to live here, 30 years ago, I mean, Luhr Jensen was a big thing down on the fort, right? And it all went away. So it's kind of sad when we see our businesses, I mean, you think about it being our businesses, go away. So I've always,
My sister-in-law's visiting. We just came from Luhr Jensen Beach, and I was showing her the building.
oh yeah,
She got us a picture. I'm going.
that's fun. That's cool. That's neat. And it's just great to see, the stories and everything are fun. And the kids that used to fish and all the fishing stories and all the stuff. It's fantastic. I mean, it's a neat legacy. Anyway, we appreciate them. They've been great supporters of the museum. We put up with them. They're kind of a pain sometimes. They say you don't know them.
That's him, not me.
But we love them anyway.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Oh,
It's
hey,
all yours. You
thank
got
you.
speakers so you can talk?
Judy is the sweetest gal. I just met her.
Thank
and
you.
I'll get wired in front of you.
You'll get wired in. Okay. There's little things in the back to turn up, and they're labeled, Stephanie.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you. You guys have
Can you
fun.
put this in? Oh. Put it down here and you won't make so much noise. I beg your pardon.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Mine should be good.
Well, my brother David did such a good job this morning starting off. He told the whole friggin' story in less than 5 minutes. I didn't have to say anything.
So, yeah, but then he could talk for an hour.
About nothing. It's a congenital defect. Yeah. So go ahead, David, please.
Oh, okay. We'll start out with the Luhr Jensen, our father's story. Came here in 1910 because, and you didn't tell this morning, but he saw a trainload of strawberries with a big sign on the back, Hood River Valley. So he would go up in Denver, and he came here and landed, got 10 acres in D flat of forest and cut off stumps, dug up the stumps after working 10 hours every day.
This big around.
In the D sawmill. And then he'd go home in the evening and take out another stump, planted pear trees, which proved to be not too successful because when the Depression came and he had a load of pears, took them to Diamond Fruit, AGA at that time, called Apple Growers Association. And all he got was a bill for storage. He didn't get any money for the pears. So he tried selling radios. In fact, I should have brought a picture of the 1-year-old sitting on the hood of a 29 Chevrolet with a can of polish. That's where my little car started. And the back is Majestic radio. But anyhow, he liked to go fishing, but he couldn't afford to buy the lures. So he had a friend named Emil Grabner, he says Grubner, that made him dyes out of car parts, truck springs for the main part, and valve springs for make this dye return. And he had an axle straightening press, big old cast iron thing with a handle with knobs on the end, and he put the press dye in there, turned that to punch out the blades. And just for his own use to go fishing, but he was able to make some and sell them to Friends Hardware here in town, and Stadelman, Bond, and the Dells, and a jobber size salesman for Oregon Marine saw them and thought, boy, we could sell those all over the coast. So he talked to his superiors and they summoned my father down and they made a deal. They loaned him, they said they'd like to buy his product. They told him he couldn't make them fast enough to sell them unless he had a factory. So they financed the factory for him and took it out in trade. So he paid the loan off with Luhr's. And from that it grew wholesalers all over the West Coast, particularly Northwest primarily at that time. My father went into salmon spinners and steelhead lures and lake trout trolls. And so it grew from there. He gave up the farm, turned it back to the mortgage holder, and we moved into town in 1935. And he bought the house at 725 Sherman for $1,425. And then he built a little factory in the backyard. And over the course of the next 5 years, it grew up and out bigger. And then during the World War II, he couldn't get brass or stainless steel. So he made enough money. He liked to collect agates, and he had equipment in the basement for grinding, sawing agate from their eggs to make abbott's lead, and then grind them into cabochons and ring things. But he made enough to feed us, making the little black onyx things for rings that were a background for an Elks emblem or a Masonic emblem or a high school graduation ring. So that's how we ate. You know, I've learned that man's primary need, all he needs is a warm place to sleep and food to eat. And we always had that, and I didn't know that we were poor in the Depression times. But so then the factory grew till then after the war. And our older brother, who was in the Navy, sent home enough money that Dad could build a factory out on May Street, a bigger frame building in 1946. Then in 50, because we had the dyes that were intricate, we built a block building for our stamp shop and put those in there. And then we grew in 1954, built a 6,000 square foot building on May Street. And then after Phil got us expanding, we had to buy, couldn't afford to build a new building, but we could buy buildings downtown. Fortunately, at that time, they were reasonable. Unfortunately, I still own a couple of them, but they're pretty good now. So I'll let Phil take over from there.
Well, he did a good job on that. I didn't. He was a little bit shy, and I didn't know he could talk so well. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. See, I just don't know where to pick up after that. One thing I can pick up, I have to remember how to tell this story. I can't tell jokes. I'm not good at telling jokes, but I remember that house on 725 Sherman Street that our dad paid $1,400 for. Remember, you and I slept in the second story, facing down on Sherman Street.
We shared a bedroom.
Yeah, and we had a little funky old radio underneath the bed. And didn't have a case on it. It was outside. It glowed in the dark, and we turned that on and listened to it. And Dad would come in and say, "Turn that damn radio on." I remember he said that. Then I remember one time, I'm telling some bad stories here, I shot the grocery lady in the butt with a BB gun out of that window. Oh, did I get in trouble for that?
So it makes me think of that time, all the bedrooms were upstairs, and I'd come home at midnight and creep up the steps, and the top one always squeaked. "What time is it, son?"
We grew up in a good time. In a good time. I forgot to tell you that grocery lady, and she was really nice, but she wore black pants. And you know, ladies back in the 40s wore pants. They wore big dresses, kind of big baggy dresses, you know, and stuff. So Dad would kind of make fun of her a little bit, I guess, whatever. And so I picked up on that. Never mind, that's a bad story. Well, carrying off a little bit where David left off, I remember a few things that even he doesn't remember perhaps, but Dad, when I was just a little squirt, and I was really cute, I had red hair and everything, he'd take me to Portland, and we'd go to see J.E. Hazeltine or B.B. Company or Oregon Wing Supply. And the first thing he did, our father was pretty forward, kind of like me.
He'd walk in the front door and at the top of his voice say, "Fish on!" And I was with him when I was 10 years old, and I kind of like that.
Anyway, we made really good friends with a lot of jobbers in Portland. This is in 1946, 47, maybe 41 or 42, 43, 1943. When we had distribution of our product was through small grocery stores or gas stations or what have you throughout the state. And maybe there was maybe 200, 300 of those, and there were jobbers throughout the state, like you say, Oregon Wing Supply and BB and J.D. Hazeltine and one up in Nevada, up in Eastern Oregon, and then Klamath Falls, Eugene, distributors. We had probably 20 distributors throughout Oregon and Washington, and maybe 200 little dealers that they sold to. We have none of that anymore. You buy it from Bass Pro or Cabela's or things like that.
So Walmart.
Walmart. So that whole piece of history is gone forever. Let me gather myself. I've kind of forgotten where we were at this point in time. Let's talk about 1946, 1947. Dad had bought that property down on Main Street, West Main Street, and May and Rand, and cleared it, all the big rocks and stuff, and built a house there and built a shop there, of which we manufactured our fishing tackle. And we had about 20 people working for us in the wood shop, of which I still got that wood shop in that property, and I keep a lot of my junk down there in that. And from that point in time, when Luhr Jr., our brother, older brother, came back from World War II, where he was in electronics, and behind what they call the Japanese line in China, he was behind that, where there were a lot of Japanese people, and that kind of, and the people from the military were looking out for people like him. His job was to travel a route, maybe 500 miles, back and forth, dressed like a coolie, and installing radios to radio out the weather that came down from Manchuria over Japan, so that he could both radio out troop movements in China and the radio that was, or excuse me, the weather was coming down over Japan. And he did that and gathered a lot of really Chinese artifacts that you couldn't even take out of there today. He had many beautiful, beautiful things that he bought in China. He was pretty good playing poker, so he gathered everybody's money up and buy all this stuff and ship it home somehow. I don't know how he got it home, but he had a lot of nice stuff. Anyway, Luhr Jr. came back after World War II, and I think he was 26 years old at the time, 27. And that was, he kind of put the wheels, I would say, on our company. He was really a good fisherman. He was mechanically inclined. He was devoted to the industry and did a wonderful, wonderful job. He passed away I think about 8 years ago. But he built a factory when I say a factory, a manufacturing plant, where we did everything ourselves. Like if you were manufacturing down in Burbank, California, you'd have somebody doing the stamping, somebody doing the plating, and somebody doing the packaging and doing the printing, and you'd have a finished product. In Oregon, there wasn't that opportunity to do that. So we had to do everything under one roof. And Luhr Jr. was a genius at building all that equipment that we had. We could do everything under one roof. And as we expanded, that one roof wasn't big enough. So he began a journey, my brother Luhr Jr., he began a journey of buying these different stores around the Hood River. There was the Safeway store, which is now the Pizza Parlor. There was a store across the street. There was the bowling alley. There was, what, you name those?
Dearborn Chevrolet, which is now where Andrew's Pizza is. float building, which we knew as Friends Furniture, where Del Taco is now, and of course Safeway, where People's Pizza is now.
But so we had a driver in a big old truck, and he'd pick up a load of this stuff, take it to that place, and a load of this stuff, take it to that place, and a load of this stuff, and take it to that place. And gosh, the guy was really fair. He put half of it in his garage, and half of it he delivered to the stores. And pretty soon he kind of figured that out, and frankly, it really pissed me off. And I went over and I busted open his garage door. His garage was clear full of our product in there. Geez, I mean, so we did get rid of him. And subsequently I said, we can't do this anymore. We've got to build one building where everything is under one roof. And about that time, my brother Luhr, that wasn't his way of really thinking about doing things. He said, okay, you do that. I'm going to Canada. So Luhr, this was about 1966, he moved to Canada and opened an operation in Vancouver. And we built a building down the port, about 100,000 square feet, about that, and had everything under one roof where it could be operate efficiently and we could keep control of it. Sure enough, Brother Luhr, would come down about every 2 weeks or so, and I said, I want that, and that, because I got people who want that. I said, wait a minute, we got customers out there in Michigan, or out there in Florida, or out there in Wisconsin that bought that stuff. He was the older brother, so he took what he wanted, and that worked out okay. It worked out okay. Gosh, that was such a good time. This is the second time I've gone through this, and I get kind of confused about WAAAM and all this. In 1967, they had an alewife problem in Lake Michigan. Alewives were little stinky little sardine-like things that were dying off and consuming more food and coming off the beach, just stink like heck. So one of the geniuses back there in the Department of Fish and Game had been from Oregon originally, and he said, hey, guess what? We'll get a bunch of eggs from Bonnie Fish Hatchery. We'll hatch out a bunch of salmon. And
all those eggs came from the hatchery at Underwood, across the river.
I thought it was Bonneville. Okay, he knows better than I do. So anyway, they took all those eggs out there and they planted them in the streams, the various streams that came in to fed Lake Michigan. And behold, they had a salmon run that was magnificent in Lake Michigan, and they began eating those alewives and growing huge. And you could go back, while we were catching 2 salmon out here at a time, you could go back there and catch a half a dozen salmon. Lake Michigan had better fisheries than we had out here. Our fishery is dwindling from what it used to be, magnificent it used to be before the dams. And their fishery was just expanding. This was middle 60s. So that went on till probably our success, I should say, Luhr Jensen's success went on for about 10 years because everybody out there thought, oh my God, Luhr Jensen built salmon lures, and they bought all these salmon lures from us, and we had enjoyed a good years of success. Within about 10 years, there were a lot of other local manufacturers back there that were manufacturing lures, and it kind of tapered off a little bit, but that's been a really good market for us. And over that time, I was kind of expansion-minded, and to the serious argument with my brother and perhaps our controller and our banker, I think I've bought probably 40 different companies in various places around the United States that were important in their area. Smaller manufacturers, maybe it was a $200,000 purchase, maybe it was $1 million purchase. To bring these companies all together under one roof and become an important supplier to each distributor in those given geographical areas, which I felt was very successful. And it worked, even though our controllers and our bankers says, you did what? You spent what money? You don't have that kind of money. Oh. We were like any fledgling company that was growing. It's all about cash flow, right? If you could make the payroll on Friday, you didn't have to pay yourself. If you could make the payroll on Friday, way to go. That's what it meant. That's what was good. So we continued on like that and had good success. What am I leaving out now, David? This is the second time I've done this drill, and I get confused about where I am almost. Yeah. So we continued on until probably 2000, when really sales started to flatten out. I think, tell me if I'm right about this or wrong, about the year 2000, I think I was like in my 60s by that time, and I thought, well, I think I'll go off the road. And this sounds kind of funky when I say this, but when the manufacturer of an important product walks into a buyer's office, I don't care whether it's in Detroit, whether it's Kmart, or whether it's in Florida, or whatever it is, they want to see you, to listen to you. When a salesman, a rep walks into the company, I don't want to see that guy, shoo him off the head. But so we were lucky. And when I was strapping it on the road, we did enjoy growth, and we did enjoy relationships with these various jobbers around, you know, blah, blah, blah. The only place I went where this is just an off story, the only place I went I didn't like, and I never went back, was Bentonville, Arkansas. Walmart. Those guys said, well, what's your best discount? I said, we get 50 and 10, and maybe a little extra 5 if you buy right. And he said, well, I want 10% better than everybody else gets. Basically, I said, I'm out of here. I never went back. I hate those guys. And I never liked Walmart ever since. I'm sorry, I never liked Walmart. In the Hood River, you gotta go to Walmart if you want a screw or something. I mean, you want a bolt or something, you know. You gotta go to Walmart, but I just don't like, but this is philosophical. The Walmarting of America was a disaster. That's what I think. Everything went to China. Never mind, that's not about Luhr Jensen. That's just philosophical. So, come 2006, I turned 70. I said, I think it's time to hang it up. I didn't like the way fishing was going. I didn't like the way the consolidation of jobbers was going. I didn't like any of that. So I sold to Rapala. Rapala, it's a company out of Wisconsin with a home company in Helsinki, Finland. I was over there a couple of times. They tried to buy our company a couple of times way back when. So I sold it to them and enjoyed my retirement in Palm Springs and in Florence, Oregon.
But they moved the plant to China.
Broke my heart.
So now you can see them in Walmart or Kmart or Luhr Jensen of Hood River. And on the back it says made in China. And the quality is not like we made it at all.
No, it's not. So at this point in time, I'm not sure I covered all the stuff that I did earlier, but please, is there any questions you guys have? Yeah. Oh, you can have it.
I can have this?
So that was the very first thing. And so our father primarily was making salmon lures and steelhead lures and trout lake trout. And then we expanded more into all the spinning lures, and then Phil expanded into the bass fishing and kept, what do they call it? Crappies and bass mainly. Bass fishing is the biggest fishing in the United States, all over the country.
And those lures, for the most part, are molded plastic lures that are plugs. You know, they injection mold it, we get it all set up, and then pops them out. Then you glue them together, and you paint them together. And I brought something that shows sometimes in painted lure, depending on how sophisticated the finish was, it might be sanded, tumbled, and then painted as many as 15 times to get the proper undercoats, and then the proper decorative coats, and then the proper protection coats over the top. And these are all done by hand. Last week when I left Florence and tried to gather all my stuff, Florence, Oregon, and tried to gather all my stuff, I had this really neat video called Richfield Success Story. Is there anybody here that's ever heard of Richfield Success Story? it was back in the late 50s, early 60s that Richfield Gasoline, remember the sings on it, it's in my mind, I would even try to sing, not sing it, but anyway, they did weekly, they did a show on some successful company in the Northwest. It might have been gas station, line of gas stations, or a manufacturing plant, or an airplane manufacturing plant. It could be anything. It might have been a school or something. Anyway, they did a year-long television show, about a year-long, I say, a hour-long television show on it. And we were on that. It was really good. It showed our plant on Main Street, the block building. I remember the opening picture. I think I was 20, 24 years old. Yeah. And I had that video and I couldn't find it. I lost it. I was beside myself. It was about a half-hour condensed version I was going to show. But it did show all the girls that had different machines that were wrapping them, twisting the wires, showed them making the spinners and polishing the spinners. Showed everything that we did. It was really, really cool movie. My mind's racing ahead. I'm thinking when I find that movie, I'm going to put about 4 movies together and then show it again next year at this time. We've had a lot of fun doing this whole show. So I don't think I want to do it two times back to back next year because I'm getting confused about what I said the earlier time with this later time, and I don't think this later presentation is working. But I do like questions.
What did you do? You know, you made all those acquisitions. I guess you do business acquisitions at some point. What happened? What was the outcome of all that?
I think 9% of them were just great. They were just great. David, would you hand me that white sheet right there? It details all the acquisitions. It turned out great. Once or twice there was some that weren't too good. But we bought. What have we done? But Harry Magic, we bought Eddie Pope Company, Maxwell. Well, you don't know these anyway, but there was 40 different companies we bought that make the combination of this catalog. And this is an early catalog. This was the first complete catalog we made that was a color catalog. That was the first job I did out of college. I spent about 2 years doing it to make a really professional looking catalog. I think this is one of the first ones we made. And it's got a picture of my brother riding that Luhr Jr. riding that fish, and then David and I on the redheaded one. We used to be redheaded, or back in the back, and he's pulling the boat because that's what he did. He pulled the boat. He really put the wheels on our company. My dad started it. He laid the seeds, our dad, and then Luhr, in his mechanical genius and his love for fishing. And by the way, Luhr was a president of Oregon Isaac Walton League in the 60s. And he got tired of collecting monies and sending them back to the headquarters in Washington, D.C. or whatever. And he dumped the Isaac Walton League and started the Northwest Association of Steelheaders. And he was the founding president of that, 2-term presidents of that, and recently, about 10 years ago, was honored by that, by the company, by the association. So he was very instrumental in fishing in the Northwest and on all of the associated companies. Was really instrumental in that. Kind of figure out where I was going on all that. Yeah, Bill.
Well, one of the companies was the smoker business.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, how that's
an interesting. Thanks for reminding me. I my fans. I think I had too much lunch at nap time. Yeah, we went to California to buy a company that made plastic injection fly blocks. I never will forget. I saw that movie. Remember, you guys saw that movie? You said, and it was, God, I can't remember this guy's name. That he was talking to the prospective father-in-law, this young man. Everybody knows his name. And the father-in-law says, "Get into plastics, young man." This is late 60s. "Get into plastics, young man." So I said, "Yeah, that's pretty smart." So we went down and bought this company that made plastic fly boxes, that little round plastic boxes and little other little things. We bought that company. Well, I think the reason they sold that company is they saw the handwriting on the wall. All that plastic stuff had been made in China, and it's still being made in China. But with that company, they had just bought this little cheap smoker. I'm sure that many of you have seen it. The little cheap electric smoker. If not, you probably have one in the attic or in the garage. We haven't used
Right
it
on my
for
deck,
18
I'm
years.
still using it after 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I do that. I go to garage sales and stuff. I say, well, let's look in your garage. Oh, yeah, they got one of those cheap smokers up in the attic up there, you know. I said, okay, cool. So we bought that. I think they said they sold maybe 10 or 15 smokers like that. And they said, do you want it? You can have it for free. And we said, okay. So we loaded that up in the truck and the van and headed way back to Oregon. And ultimately, that has become an integral part of our business. Our business was not huge, including the smoker business. Our business probably was $15 million gross sales. And that's not a huge business, you know. The company that bought us, their sales in the United States, Rapala, was about $100,000. They're by far the biggest manufacturer, you know, Rapala, the Rapala minimum and all that kind of stuff. 100 million, did I say? Whatever. You know. Yeah, $100 million. Our sales were about 15 million, and our smoker sales were about $4 million. So, and Alaska was probably our biggest market for smokers. Most of those fishing up Alaska, they'll catch a dozen fish in the afternoon. You know, they have 4 or 5 smokers each, and they're smoking those fish like crazy. And it's a good living unit. It's a good smoker. $100. How can you buy a smoker for $100? It's great. I think originally said it was about $20 when we bought it.
This is one of those semantics questions. You're UHR, so your family was originally came from Scandinavia somewhere. But LURE, now that's just a coincidence?
That's a
It's
coincidence.
just a coincidence, yeah.
Okay.
And you can,
N-U-H-R was our father's name, and our older brother
You can
was
see-
Luhr Jr.
Yeah.
right on that early packaging, it's Luhr's.
I remember that packaging.
Yeah, Luhr's. Luhrres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
His first catalog. I've got his first catalog, 1936, the year I was born. Shows a picture of him. You know, he was an enterprising, smart man. Shows a picture in the front. Now at the top says Luhr's, L-U-H-R, Luhr's, L-U-R-E-S.
Yeah.
So that's what that was. Gosh. Oh, question.
That was going away when I saw how many employees you had. Would you like to share that?
At one time, probably our least efficient time, because of one of really bad those companies and blah blah blah. We had 400 employees down here on the waterfront. Wow. 400 employees. Then we had another 60 employees in Ensenada, Mexico, and probably 35 or 40 employees in Vancouver, BC. So, you know, we made a contribution to a local economy, I guess you might say.
Yeah.
So, come on, let's get some more questions here.
The block building on Main, is that where the dance studio is now?
Yeah. We built that building in '54. That's a pretty good story about that too. In 1952, I think it was, there was a small company up in around the Seattle area, Will's Cherry Bobber. Will's Cherry Bobber. You might recognize that. It's a little spinner. There is one here someplace that had a little fluorescent cork or balsa wood body with a little teeny spinner, you know, about the size of this one, and a clever hook. That's all it was. And I remember that it was on Look magazine or some famous magazine, big time magazine back then. It was right on the cover, the bombshell out of the Northwest. And it went all over the United States. Well, this little company, whom we knew the guy, he's a real nice guy, Will's, brother Luhr, the smart one of the bunch, he said, Will's is not going to be able to meet the demand. So we went to work making what we call the Cherry Drifter, not Cherry Bobber, Cherry Drifter. And we built them in his basement, David's basement, 24/7. We built those things, and we shipped them all over the United States, and it was big year for us. For 2 years we did that. And finally, and Luhr said this, you got to do this fast because they're not going to catch muskies. They're not going to catch pike. They're not even going to catch a bass. They're not going to catch anything. They catch steelhead in Oregon and Washington. And people found that out, and the sales went boop and done. But it was in time, just in time to build ourselves a nice new building out there right next to Main Street Road. That's where the Rich Hill success story was filmed. I so wish I had that. I'll have it next year. I'll find it. That was a nice story. And it's a good time for us. I was still in high school then. Is that all true, David? I have to get him to verify it because he always corrects me on everything I say. I'm a salesman. Like blah blah blah. You don't have to be half true. He likes true.
That's the way it always was. He did the talking, I did the working.
That's not quite true. No, maybe that's true. I don't know. Come on, you guys got a question? Yeah, go ahead.
A little over 20 years ago, I met a character that worked for you named John Thomas.
Oh yeah, John.
What can you tell me about him and what?
Oh, I can tell you a lot about John Thomas. I literally love that man. He was a great man.
Yeah.
He had worked with a book. In fact, it was his own book. I forget, it was a sporting goods book, periodical out of the Seattle area. I forget exactly the name, but I still got a bunch of copies of it. Anyway, he sold that book and came to Hood River. Ostensibly, he wanted to work for Luhr Jensen. And he applied for a job, and I said, yeah, okay, that's fine, Mr. Thomas. John, I'll call you John now. He said, but, I'm not really sure. So he wrote articles for the Hood River News and did what he could do. And I watched that, and I said, hey, this guy's pretty good. So we hired him. A year later, we hired him. And he turned out to be, well, he had the office next to me. He was the guy that had my back. And I loved him. And I've got a monster picture of him. It was right hanging up with all the pictures we have of all ourselves. And he edited the catalog, he assembled it, and did it after I assembled it and built it and stuff. He put it all together and said this and that. I mean, he did everything. Not to mention the fact that how much of his time he contributed to local fishing groups. He was his hobby to go to the hatchery and get a 40-pound backpack filled with water and fill it up with little teeny fish and hike up in the mountains to obscure lakes and put these fish in. It was like, did you know that?
I did not know that.
He did that. He did that almost every weekend. He'd get a backpack full of these little fingerlings and hike it up into the mountains, some obscure fishing lake, and plant them in there. Yeah. He was quite a guy. He passed. Broke my heart. Broke my heart. And so, anyway, that's John. Other questions, please? Yeah.
Do you have a favorite memory or a precious time that really touches your heart?
You know what? That's a good question. It really is. My life is filled with those kind of memories. Filled with many of those. I'm finding that we begin to find out about ourselves, don't we? We find out about ourselves when we get to be 65, 75, 80, 85, 86. That's not on that one, 86. Yeah. We begin to find out about ourselves. I found out that I'm a really tender guy. And I got ADA. My second grade teacher told me, no, my first grade teacher said, you're a really smart kid, I think. You got red hair, You're a really smart kid, but you got to learn to keep your attention on stuff, You bounce all over the damn thing. I said, okay, what do I know? So I probably got every other damn thing. LS, NFT, PST, I got everything. I'm weird. But I don't think that makes a bit of difference in who you really, really are. Who you really, really are. It's in the heart. It's in the heart. We went on our life's journey and done good. And so, did that answer that question?
What I knew that about you.
Okay. Other questions? Please. Other questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of work are you guys doing with the local fishery groups in Hood River or conservation groups or anything?
What kind of work do we do?
Or just, yeah, what are you guys connected with here in Hood River?
Well, you know, we belong to those groups,
Yeah.
but I think because I was so intensely involved with Luhr Jensen, with the company, that I wasn't as active. David was much more active with local groups. Not so much a fishing group. It wouldn't be a lie to say that David was more of a community activist and supporter and less of a fisherman. I was more of a fisherman and much less of a community supporter. Although I was in Lions Club, he was in Rotary Club, and he was guy was captain of the Rotary Club. And Bill, you were Lions Club, yeah. And we did our thing together in Lions Club, and we went all over the state. They even made me a deputy governor, and I was miserable. I failed at that so bad. They fired me. Remember what's the guy that went around and sold? Oh gosh, I can't remember.
Cy.
Yeah, Cy Perkins. He took me to task one time because he was vociferous in Lions Club. That broke my heart, and I don't think I ever went back to Lions Club after that. You know, that was weird. Things happen.
Yeah.
I'm a tender guy. So, but we support all the local clubs, honestly.
Sure.
Of those sample boards, there's none. Well, there's one out there, those sample boards. We had a gal, Joyce Otto was her name, that made those sample boards. That's all she did was make those beautiful, beautiful sample boards. Would you mind showing that to everybody? Yeah. She made those beautiful sample boards. Every one is different. And I've still got about, we send out to all our salesmen, and half of them would do it like they were told. They would send them back, and the other half would sell them out of a garage sale. So they're all over the United States, thousands of them. But I've still got probably about 600 or 700 of them. And I'm going to give them to the NSIA. She's going to come up and pick them up in a couple of weeks. She's going to come up and pick them up, and she will distribute them to all the local clubs for auction items.
Cool.
So that's the way you get rid of some of the things. But they're wonderful, and that particular board there, that's probably I had several of them like that, and I think that was one of the highest priced boards I ever sold. I think they went for $350.
Wow.
At an auction, you know, somebody wanted it.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah. So I got a whole lot of them, some good, some better, some best. I'm going to give them all to NSIA. Come on, another question, please. Go on.
And not necessarily a question, just an observation. I mean, I grew up in Southern California, and when you were talking about introducing the bass fishing lures and stuff like that, I mean, in the very early 70s when it just started to explode down there, and watching the product and your product come out in anticipation of it, it's a privilege to listen to you, because, you know, you were always sitting there going, okay, what's next? What's new?
Yeah.
You know, and it was along that same time frame and period, and yeah, it was neat.
Yeah. Our journey, each of us here, our journey was at a very, very good time, post World War II until 2000 and plus. We lived at a really good time. We did. We're fortunate. We did. Yes.
Did you sell your smoker business to Rapala also, or
not? No. We sold it to the people. That's an interesting story. Let me go back just a little teeny bit. When we bought the smoker and brought it up here, we bought a little piece of property that had a barn on it down on the Rand Road. Nice big old barn. I love that barn. And we put a conveyor belt, and we buy hickory flavor in bags. It was all kind of wet and stuff. They ship it out here by freight car, and we load it on that conveyor and take it up to the top of that barn down there, and rake it out and let it get all dried out. It'd take about 2 weeks to dry it out. And then we'd shovel it into a bin, and it'd come down through the thing, and we'd pop it open, and we'd fill up a round tube. This is one of the, this is one of the genius ideas that really wasn't a good idea at all. So we put it in this round tube and wrap it around. It looked like a log. It was a pain in the butt, really, to package it that way. I've still got one of them that reminds me that was not a good thing. So that's how we packaged the hickory flavor that supported the smoker. Then about yeah, that hickory flavor right there. But then about 2 years later, we bought a machine that you shovel the stuff into a big old hopper, and
We bought out a company in Tacoma making chips and chunks.
yeah,
They made hickory and apple and cherry and alder. And they packaged, and then the manager of that for us talked us into buying this big fancy expensive machine that automatically put so much in the plastic bags that came off a roll bag.
that was a good thing.
Yeah.
That was a good thing. And then we ultimately sold that whole company to Bear Mountain down in Cascade Lodge, and they run the company with a crew, our crew that we facilitated for them and told them to hire them. I took all my best friends that worked for us down there, kids I love really a lot. Ed, good Christian young man, didn't do anything for us, but what did he do for us? He did mechanical stuff. Yeah, and I told him, now this is a new sales manager of your company, and you got to keep him because he's really good. He's a great guy, and he's been a sales manager out there for the last 10 years. Gail was sitting right there just the last time, and she was, and Gail was 15 years old when we first hired her. It's the only job she's ever had. She's 50 years old now. It's the only job she's ever had. And she now works for Bear Mountain, doing the same thing she did for us. And Gail, mother, was called Midge, and Midge had worked for us forever, and ran our shipping operation. And boy, she ran it with an iron fist too. She was little, but she was mighty. And that was Midge Carter. Was her last name, Midge Carter.
Mitch Carter.
Yeah. Gail Lee. Yeah. Good people. Good people.
Are the smokers still made out in Oak Grove?
Yeah.
They
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
And Bear Mountain owns that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. And they got the same old, I don't know what that old building was, old packing plant out there, by Oak Grove School.
Right.
No, yeah.
Just below Oak Grove School.
Yeah. Yeah.
Behind the Oak Grove store.
Yeah. So, I don't think I could do two. Go ahead.
My last question, I said it before. I see a variety of the different kinds of paint. Does each one have a different purpose, or is it the color? Or?
Well, it's a combination of both. That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I mean, of all these different companies that we bought from all over the United States, they all made a different lure that was the lure in their given geographical area. And that's what kind of melded, if you will, or cemented our relationships with the jobbers in that given area, because we bought this important supplier for them, and then being the supplier for that and having a relationship with them. Once you get the relationship with somebody set up, you don't want to have 10 relationships when you can buy with one relationship. So we became then an important supplier to these people, these jobbers all over the United States. That was the strategy of it, to do it that way. Yeah, that's how and why that happened. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun doing that. Yeah, good question. You must have a question.
Yeah, I want to know how the little case smoke is working.
I wouldn't do that. One time, that wasn't my fault. One time, my wife was trying to smoke some sausage out on the deck of our house down in Eugene Street. We just sold that house, by the way. Built it in 1966, beautiful house. And she was out on the deck. It was a real convenient, right in front of the kitchen. So she's out there with a sausage and this thing, and I'm down in the office. And she could look down there and see me. In fact, she looked down there and checked and see what I was doing a lot, I think. Anyway, um, so I looked up at the house one day and I saw this smoke coming out of that house. That's my house. So I raced up there, and I think that GTO was sitting out there that I was driving at the time. Raced up there, and the fire truck was there, and the smoke was pouring out of the front of it, and I knew what had happened exactly. And I started to go down to the house, and one of the young firemen down there, he said, "No, you can't go into the house. It's a burning house." I said, "Heck, I can. It's my house." So I gripped down there, opened the door. Opened one door, and I shouldn't because that smoke all came inside them. But anyway, I kicked all that stuff over, stopped it. It had burned the deck a little bit and broke a window and smoked up the joint. That's all it had done. But she didn't get the smoker, and she started with that stuff up there, the drippy, goopy stuff, and then went off to get her hair fixed. And almost burned the friggin' house down. If I hadn't been down there looking up there, the house would have burned down. That was crazy. That was interesting. Anyway, so yeah, sorry. Okay, good story. Yeah. Any other questions?
We did get sued once in a while by somebody saying that the smoker started their house on fire. There was a case in Eugene where they were really suing us, and I went down to the trial. We had Farmers Insurance at the time, and they hired a lawyer to defend us. But it ended up, we were not guilty, and they come to find out that the man had to rebuild his house $100,000 better than it was before. So his insurance company sued them to get that overage back.
He was trying to build that $100,000 addition on our nickel.
Yeah.
Man's inhumanity to man is just profound and never-ending.
Yeah.
It is so sad.
Yeah.
So we are very grateful to our parents, and maybe even our parents' parents. You know, so many people, I'll give a little political talk about that. So many people think, hey, I made that $50,000 a year paying me, so I want the money. You know what? He didn't make that money. A nation, an economy made that money, and he was fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time. And although, as I say, this is a political talk now, so I'm a deep-rooted Republican, but I'm also a very liberal person who thinks that we all should share in God's bounty. We all should share. I would vote for a $15 an hour minimum wage. In fact, anybody that waits on our table, I tip them 35% because that's what they should be making. Those kids, that Don is working out there, Sherry, he's been working there 25 years. He makes $1 over minimum wage, supporting a family. That is bullshit. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get into politics. I really didn't. Is there any more questions about Luhr Jensen? We're just four family kids that worked hard and done good. Go ahead.
Anybody? Go ahead. Who's a sister, maybe? Or you said four.
We have five. There was Luhr Jensen Jr. Wasn't he the oldest? There was Charlene.
Charlene was the oldest.
Oh, you had a sister.
Sister. Two sisters.
And she passed several years ago. And then our Luhr Jr., who was 85, and he was 10 years older than me. So do your math, because he was born 17 to figure out. And then our sister Charlene, who is now 95 and still lives in Portland. If you've ever heard of Danner Boots,
Yeah.
that's her husband, Bill Danner. And then me, and then the afterthought.
Were the
Or
girls
maybe it was a mistake.
Were the girls involved at all in the company?
No.
No. That was an interesting time. Girls were treated differently than guys. But Miriam, and she was redheaded and very articulate, vivacious girl, beautiful girl. he, uh, she went to Willamette University. Now that was kind of a different thing too. This was 1939, and he sent her to Willamette University. In fact, he traded, David will know better than I do, he traded a collection of Indian artifacts to them for her education at Willamette. Is that correct, David?
Well, he collected, he used to go to Solilo and up the mouth of the chutes and had a screen, shoveled dirt into it, shook it, and then got the beads and arrowheads from that. And this collection he loaned to Willamette for a display, and it disappeared. So Willamette said, you know, what can we do? He said, well, Derek needs to go to college. So that paid for her tuition to Willamette.
I have an addendum to that. Miriam had red hair, and she was beautiful. And I think her father liked her. And of course, I had red hair. And he could just finish that story, right?
Yeah, he was a little curly-headed last youngest child. Our older brother Luhr got spanked every night for something. I got spanked every other night. He never did get spanked.
And Dad used to take me everywhere. When we go the old highway into Portland, and out to the back of that, see that 41 Pontiac, going up going up Vista Point, the Vista House, the Vista House. They had a big old granite bathroom downstairs with about 40 different lavatories in it. Everybody stopped there to take a leak before they hit the highway. They called it the Vista House. Pretty funny. Anyway, he'd always take me in to all the jobbers he called on. It was fun. It was a good time. We all grew up at a good time. We did. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Any of your kids, grandkids doing stuff with lures or with fishing and stuff?
They're not, but they're not really. They're not. No.
Nobody, not even like a grandson, like.
You know what? David has got some grandchildren and great grandchildren. I really don't have. My lineage kind of stopped.
It happens.
For whatever that's worth. I got ADD, DTT, LSMFT, you know, I don't know what I got. Yeah. Oh, come on, more questions, please. This assortment of stuff up here is all stuff that we made over the years, and incidental pieces, and it's interesting to look at one by one. We've got a lot of stuff out here at WAAAM. I love this place. It's a neat place. And in fact, of all the stuff that I've collected, which is all down in a building my dad built in 1946, it's clear full of junk. I got more stuff in there. I just came out and told John and Judy, I said, I'm going to be gone for probably the rest of the summer. Here's a key. You guys take whatever you want to take out of there and bring it out here and take it out here. And I'm happy to not only to have them have it, I really want them to have it, but I'm happy that it's gone away. When you guys get to be 78 years old or whatever the hell I'm old as I am, you'll think the same way.
Well, on way over there on one wall is several cabinets that Phil had built, but they're full of cards. My collection's that long are in there. And my late wife's doll collection is in there, and her little toy stoves are over there on display. I'm happy to have a good place for them to go home for forever, we hope.
And then on the other side of that, it's right over there, the other side of that, I think there's 8 cabinets that are clear full. Well, he's got a congenital defect I have. Bob Nicholson collects tractors. He must have 2,000 tractors in there. It's all filled up with tractors, and most of them are John Deere. And not only that, that Julie was telling me that and I think you probably know. Well, for every one of those tractors up there, Bob would probably buy 6 or 12. So all these other ones are in the back room, and they come up for sale in the gift shop. You know, and Bob, he's the same age you are.
He's old.
He's older, so so Bob is happy to do that. Both to see him go to a good place and to see WAAM get them. WAAM is extraordinarily a wonderful thing that we have in our community. We are extraordinarily lucky to have WAAM here. And I've been to a few museums around, a few, and some of them have airplanes, some of them have cars, but nobody has the collection of assorted things. There's something here for everybody. It's a wonderful place.
How many of the old buildings that you had factories in are still around?
You know, that's a good, really good question. David, who has an extraordinarily good memory, remembers all the places. I've tried to get him to write a book. He can go down and tell you every store that was in Oak Street, Cascade Street, and...
What was the Deer Brand Chevrolet is now where Andrew's Pizza is and Starlight Theater.
Yeah.
That was the one. Across the street where the Del Taco is in now, the Sproat building they call it, was one. The old Safeway building down at 2nd Cascade where Pietro's Pizza is now, was my building.
Yeah, but I bought it.
I bought it.
Oh, brother.
Here it goes. Now, when I moved to town, a woman that lived right behind me said she used to work for you and on 2nd and Cascade, but I thought it was the building kitty corner to the Pietro's Pizza, where the River Days Cafe is now.
Well,
it was the Safeway building. We bought it from Safeway.
You bought it from Safeway, yeah.
And that was our warehouse and shipping.
Did you have a factory across the street there from that too?
We did. We had a storage area.
In the basement of what's now Mall 202,
yeah,
we had the smoker plant in the basement of that.
Okay, that's where she worked.
Yeah. A lot of people in the Hood River worked for Luhr Jensen at one time or another. A lot of people. And we love them all. Treat them right. So they worked for $4 an hour. That was way back when. And we were all struggling way back when. Yeah. Gosh, I could sit here all night long and talk to you guys.
I just heard the other day, some people are so old that they remember when there was rotary telephones. I'm so old, I remember when we called up the operator and told us what number we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, you remember that? Hello? Is this the person to whom I'm speaking? Yeah. I saw a picture of her on the front of a magazine just the other day. She's so cute. She's at that telephone operator thing. And then on the inside, there's a picture of her when she was about 21 years old. She's a beautiful, beautiful girl. You know, and she looks so weird when she's got her hair all funny makeup and, you know, being the whatever she was. And then a little girl was about 6 years old or 5 or something like that. Just a little while ago, she went by and she said, "Is that a telephone?" What did she say? She said, it's like she's so used to a telephone that she carries around in her pocket and sees movies and stuff on it. Says, "Where do you watch the movies on this telephone?" You know, the rotary dial telephone. That's cute. This Luhr here, I think I built it in 2001. It was originally, well, it was at the time, what was the event that, did those guys fly into that building in 2001?
I think it was 11.
No, it wasn't 11, because I didn't own the company. We didn't own the company in 11. What was the international thing that happened in 2001 where they...
9/11.
9/11.
Yeah.
Huh?
9/11, 2001.
That's what I thought. It wasn't...
Oh, so 11th day, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I built, I don't know how many of these I built, just 3 or 4. And I had all my reps sign them. This is the only one that hadn't got all our reps' signature on them. And you know, I don't know what it's worth, but I did that a lot. I made commemorative lures a lot because I could do it. Because I told them, okay, make it and paint it this way. Well, I did it, you know. So I have a lot of lures that are kind of like that. It's kind of weird. And they're just collector's pieces. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I don't know what I'm going to do. That they're one of a kind from a lure manufacturer. That's all.
Right.
I'm kind of worried that way. I don't know. So,
Great.
golly, I could sit here and answer questions all day long. Give me some more questions. I kind of got confused from what I was this morning. This morning's went a lot smoother, I think. But I forgot. Did I talk about that? No, that was 11:30. I talked about it on that show.
Yeah, there's some things I remember. Did I say that this morning or to this group?
Yeah. Well, I don't like to button it up by saying, but thank you all very much. And I know you guys don't like to get up and start to walk out, but if it's getting really boring for you, we've been here almost an hour and a half talking about stuff. And, anyway, that's great. And by the way, I still got a few more of these things. If you'd like a free lure, come on, I'll sign it for you and just give it to you.
Look at this, all these fishermen. Yeah. Isn't this exciting? It is. Fishermen want to be. These guys. There's still a couple more chairs up front. And anybody wants to come sit up. How come everybody's afraid to always sit in the front? Do you notice that? They're afraid you're going to ask them a question.
Front row and a few in the church.
There's more back there easier. I know. They're always afraid you're going to ask them a question. I know. Okay, I'll get started. We're a couple minutes early, but might be a few people wondering anyhow. But anyway, I'll talk loud. I got a loud voice. They can hear me, I think, right? Okay, this is fun today. It's really fun to have Phil and Dave here, Luhr Jensen. Everybody else says, how come you got fishing lures in your museum? Well, because these guys brought them in. What else would we have? And everybody, think about it, everybody who fishes has to get to their fishing hole with either a boat, or which we've got a couple boats around, or a car, or a float plane. So we're all into this. I mean, this is kind of the fishing story. And this was a big part of Hood River years ago. When I was raising my kids back here 30, 40 years ago, Luhr Jensen was a big part of this community. And it's really been neat. And these guys have been very, very supportive of this museum, so we really appreciate them. Even sometimes they're kind of, yeah.
So we appreciate this.
Sometimes they're a pain in the butt. But
We try.
But anyway, we really appreciate it. Thank you guys. We're going to tell a story, and the next group will go a little later in the day. Okay? Are you guys?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want you to know, I really do appreciate you both.
We know that.
You know that. And I
We
love
appreciate
you.
you.
Right.
We know that.
Okay. All right. That's good.
So, a lot of faces I recognize that have heard this story before, but there's some I don't, so bear with me, you that have heard it so many times. The history of Luhr Jensen, fishing lures, started with our father, Luhr Jensen. Phil started in 1932. I think it was about the time I was born in 1928. And then the Great Depression came. He had worked 10 hours a day in the sawmill, and then went out, grubbed out the stumps and planted pear trees, which weren't very successful in those years. When he sent one crop to the diamond fruit growers, and then he got a bill for storage and no money for the fruit. He decided to change his outlook. And he loved to fish, but in the Depression he couldn't afford to buy fishing lures, So he had a good friend named Emil Grabner that was a die maker, and he made dies for him using truck springs for steel and valve springs to return it. And he had an axle straightening press. He put this die in and spun the big wheel to stamp it out, and made his own fishing lures. And then it was going so well that he sold them to Franz Hardware. And a salesman for a jobber in Portland called Oregon Marine Supply saw him, and they summoned our father down at conference, and they agreed to loan him money to set up a factory, and they'd get repaid by lures. So that's how it evolved. And they gave up the farm in 1935, moved to town, built a little factory in the back of 725 Sherman. Within 5 years, it raised it another story, and then they added on. And then during the war, he couldn't get material, so he put bread on the table by polishing cabochons, they were called, which was a little black thing that you put an Elks emblem or Masonic or whatever for rings. That's it. And in 46, he built a frame building on May Street. Then in 1950, built a little block building in case the big frame building burned down, it wouldn't destroy all the equipment for making, stamping out the blades and whatnot. And in 54, we were able to build a 6,000 square foot block building on May Street. And in the interim, we kept growing, and we bought the old Safeway store and the old Deer Brand garage and the old Franz furniture building. And then we were able to build a building on the port that's still down there now, 1978. And then after Jensen Knitting Mills came and went, we bought that building and had them all full. And then 1999 I retired and took it over to Phil. 1993.
Well, that concludes our presentation. I'll tell you, Lenny's good job, David. Good job. He's got a lot better memory than I do. In fact, I'm trying to get him to write a book. I'll help him write about what went on Main Street, at Main Street at Hood River. He remembers every store that was on Main Street at Hood River. I can remember one Friends Hardware. I used to go in there and ride that little trolley car back and forth with the ladder on it. Dave, you remember Friends Hardware? Remember that? I'd run it back and forth. I was about 5 years old. And then I can't remember the Friends Hardware boys' names. It was
George and Gilbert.
George and Gilbert. They came over and shake their finger at me. It was so fun. Okay, it's my turn now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good job, David. Good job.
Is any of those buildings still there?
I'm sorry?
Any of those buildings you mentioned still there? I'm not familiar with River, so I don't.
Oh, all the buildings are still there.
All of them?
But the only one that is the same operators now as was in is Shepherd's, which is now in the 4th generation. But that's the only original store or business in downtown.
So David can remember all those stores. Not to say I'm trying to get him to write a book about Oak Street, Hood River, Cascade Street, Hood River, blah, 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 all those sorts of historical things. Maybe not two people are interested. Anyway, now since you've already told us everything up to about 1956 or later.
I thought I got up to 90 or 93.
Yeah, you did good. You did really good. I can omit this part about our father coming west on a train about 1910 or 1911, and he thought Hood River Valley was the most beautiful place he'd ever seen. So he moved to D and got 10 acres up there, some land grant of some sort. And as David said, he kind of honed out all the grubbed out all the trees and stuff went on and planted pears, and had chickens and cows. He hated cows, had to milk them twice a day. Hated those. And worked in the mill and did a good job. And guess what? He married the mill owner's or manager's daughter, which is our mother, Luhr Jensen. And I think he was pretty suave in his day, you know, like a lot of us were, you know. anyway, and they proceeded to have 5 children, David being the youngest, except for me. And I kind of snuck in under the wire. Dad was, I think, I would say 52, and David would say, yes, he was 48, or what was he?
48.
48. He corrects me all the time. It's a good thing. And then shortly thereafter, when things kind of turned bad in the Depression, he moved to town, down at 725 Sherman Street. I think he bought that house. How much did he pay for that house?
$1,425.
Wow. 725 Sherman Street. And that's where we grew up. Remember that time I shot the grocery lady in the butt with a BB gun? Boy, I get whipping bad. I think that's the only whipping I ever got. Oh, anyway.
Our older brother got whipped every night. I got whipped every other night, and he never did.
I was so cute. I had red hair and everything. And my dad was 52. No, 49. I'm sorry. 48. He's been doing that all his life. It's good. He's got a better memory. Anyway, Dad then loved to fish. So I can correct him right now. It was not Grabner. It was Grubner.
I think it was Grabner.
Okay, I've got it written down. I save all that stuff. So the two of them got together, and there's some of the old dies that they made of old car parts out in the display that we have out there with there's lures and stuff out there. There's a couple of those. Just rinky-dink little dies that they had that press, that wedging press, and they punch out one at a time, one blade at a time. And then he had a little thing, he had a bottle capper he changed so they could punch a hole in the top. And then after he had a whole bunch of blades, he'd string them all out, he would polish them, both sides, on a buffing wheel, on a little arbor like we all have out in the garage, you know. He'd polish them. And then he would put them on a string and plate them in a little plating tank he had that was run by about 3 car batteries. He had to plate them all night long. Nickel. And they'd come out in the morning, they'd be foggy nickel, so he'd have to buff them again. And that's what he made a blade out of. And he made those blades so good that people wanted to buy them. And first he sold them through Fran's Hardware, and then Saddleman Bond and the Dallas wanted to buy them. And then a salesman came through from Portland, I forget, Oregon Ring Supply or somebody, I'm not sure, he can correct me. They wanted to buy me stuff. I can't come fast enough for you, but if you front me, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that, to build a building, I'll set up and manufacture it for you, and I'll pay you back in product. Of which he did. And that was the genesis of Luhr Jensen and Sons. That was the genesis. And that was probably 1934, 33, 34.
35 is when we moved to town.
Yeah. And I still have his little first catalog, shows a picture of him. Our father was quite an entrepreneur and quite a hard worker and very creative, very right-side minded. He did a really good job of laying the seeds for a wonderful company that we all benefited from, prospered from, benefited from. So he built that company through the late 30s and sold to Saddleman Bond and sold to Oregon Ring Supply. How many different jobbers in Portland did he sell to?
BB Company, George Lawrence Company, Oregon Ring Supply, J.E. Hazeltine Hyman Hardware, Northern Wholesale Hardware.
And those companies
are all gone.
As well as another half a dozen distributors throughout the state of Oregon. Distributors that were in Bend and Klamath Falls and Eugene and Baker City. Which ones were those guys? Do you remember, David?
Hubbard Brothers in Medford, Bossy Sage in Baker City, Triangle Sales in
Eugene.
Salem.
Eugene.
Yeah, Riverside Sales and Service.
41454. Anyway, kind of my point in that is none of those distributors, jobbers, exist anymore. And their customer base, which are grocery stores and gas stations and little sporting goods shops all over the world. We had 2,000 customers at one time, mostly wholesalers, customers at one time. You know how many people there are distributing fishing lure today? About 0. It's either Bass Pro shops or Cabela's or a couple more of that ilk, which have chains all around the United States. There's no more mom and pops. There's no more distributors. All that's changed in our lifetime. You and I, lived at a good time, and we've seen a lot of changes. So during the war, as David said, the war materials we needed, couldn't get brass, couldn't get wire, couldn't get hardly anything. So Dad shut the business down. We were out of Main Street at the time. Sherman Street. So I never knew this. I didn't know that he supported his family by making these rings, these sets for these rings for Balfour, I think it was, the company that makes the graduation rings that we all wear, or used to wear when we graduate, whatever you graduated from. And that's what he did. I didn't know that. Sidebar story. Dad, amongst his interests and his passions was agates, and you might call them gemstones, but they were agate gemstones, not diamonds or emeralds or that kind of stuff. He didn't do it. Didn't do any faceting, but he did, and you can't correct me on this because this is true. He made the most beautiful stones out of agates that he got either from Eastern Oregon, the Friday Ranch. You've all heard of the Friday Ranch, haven't you? Friday Ranch? In Eastern Oregon, out by Prineville. We used to go out there. I had another video of us going out there when I was growing up. And I was 4 or 5 years old. I'd go out there all the time. He took me around every place. And he'd go out there with Mom, Clarice, our mother, and they'd be out there just digging those old rocks and those thunder eggs are all back in the ground. They were formed by volcanic actions that formed the module of it, and then the internal stuff was formed over maybe millions of years, for what I know, that would seep in and make this beautiful agatized stuff on the inside. And I can remember, he had boxes and boxes of them. I remember him downstairs in the basement, right there, sawing those agates with this saw that he fashioned, the big old diamond cutting saw that he fashioned. And we'd be upstairs and we'd hear it. And pretty soon stop. And he'd say, "Oh, Ma!" And we'd all have to run downstairs and he'd spit on it and show us this agate that was inside of this thunder egg. Yeah. It was really cool. And then he would draw a pattern on there and cut it all out on the slab, cut it all out and polish it and make a gemstone out of it that's beautiful. Make brooches and rings and for all of his kids and friends and stuff. I've still got, you probably have one, don't you? Don't you have? If you don't have one, I'll give you one. I've still got a box of them. They're beautiful. He would go to agate shows all over the Northwest and take his display. He had nice displays, agates and figurates that he polished and stuff and all that stuff. And he'd take them around to Boise or Seattle or wherever it was and show them. And he generally won first place. Right? And every time he went to a show, he won first place. His really good friends in Boise, Idaho, that had a competing company at the time. In fact, this is the Glenn L. Evans company. Glenn L. Evans is really a friend of Dad. He was also a rock fan. And they meet together and be best buds and talk about how they're going to go to New Mexico. And Dad had an agate mine down there in New Mexico. It was kind of a buddies of his and him. And they go down there and with the little caterpillar and just dig up the ground and go up and pick up all these agates. That was a good place. I can remember on the way down, we had a 57 Buick, big old black 57 Buick, 47 Buick. And on the way down, he stopped by a couple places in northern Arizona or northern New Mexico. I can't remember. One it was the Petrified Forest, and I think that's northern Arizona, isn't it? Anyway, 1947 was 1 year before they disallowed the taking of anything from that Petrified Forest, and he loaded up the back of this 47 Buick so much it drug the ground all the way back. Yeah, I was sitting in the back seat, and I still got one of those trunks of a tree that's that big around, honestly, I'm not telling a fish story, that big around, and that big, beautiful, beautiful petrified wood, beautiful petrified wood. And he had, out of those, he would cut them up about that thick, and in eighths or quarters or whatever, make bookends out of it. Many of which he gave away. Dad loved to give away things, beautiful things that he made.
I thought these people came to hear the fishing lure story.
Is it okay if we digress a little bit? I mean, it's an eclectic museum. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. So anyway, Luhr Jensen and Sons in 1952 had a really good year making what we call the cherry drifter. And that was that little balsa wood body with a spinner on it, that steelhead. And he got there was a national publication, Post magazine or something like that, back in those days, a big deal. Had a picture of this guy that built this, the cherry bobber, Will's cherry bobber. Will's was a good friend of Dad's, and he was a kind of grumpy little maker, like Dad was a grumpy little maker, but Luhr Jr., or Luhr, older brother, who's now deceased, he was fresh back from the war, World War II, the big war, and eager to build a company, and a wonderful fisherman, loved to fish. Anyway, he saw this national article in this magazine, and he said, I know Will's, he couldn't possibly make these fast enough to supply the demand, because the demand was all over the United States for these. So Will's cherry bottle now became Luhr Jensen cherry drifter. And he sold them all over the United States for 2 years and made a nexus of money that built the company. And until people found out you can't catch a walleye with a cherry drifter, you can't catch a sturgeon with a cherry drifter, you can't catch a bass with a cherry drifter, you can't catch anything with a cherry drifter except steelhead in the West. So that pooped out. By the time it pooped out, about 2 years, it built a new factory. That big block factory that's right next to Rand Road, or excuse me, West Main Street. It's about 6 inches. I don't think that Cindy Walgridge would let you build that factory 6 inches from the road. Maybe the road expanded. I don't know. Anyway, that happened, 1954, and Brother Luhr, or older Brother Luhr, who I have to say, he took what Father cast seeds, and Luhr put the wheels on. He made the company really grow. He came back from World War II, where he served in China, behind the Japanese lines, fixing the radios. And he had I don't know, somewhere between 500 and 100 or 1,000 mile route that he walked dressed like a coolie, installing and teaching people how to use the radios to radio out troop movement and weather movement coming down from Manchuria, because the weather from Manchuria impacted what the weather was going to be like over Japan. So Brother Luhr spent 4 years in military in electronics, installing and teaching people how to use these radios. Then after the war, of course, he came back and started to work with our company. And And at about that time, after the war, a lot of returning GIs came back from Europe, and they had a new fishing reel called a spinning reel. Now, how many of you have used a level line reel? How many of you use a spinning reel? And spinning reels are a lot easier to use than level lines. So I think fishing took a big jump then with the advent of the spinning reel. And a lot of European spinning reels, we use Mitchell and all that stuff. I mean, they're legendary in our time. So he then started making a lot of spinning lures, little spinners, weighted spinners, gas, or little weighted wobblers. And back in those days, there was a lot of, the United States was divided. There was the East Coast, and there was companies, there was Wobble Right, there was MIPS, there were two different companies. Well, we were kind of the Western, a lot of people call it, excuse me, a lot of people call it, well, you guys are the Japs of the United States, you copy everything. Isn't that what I did?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now,
You're a little quiet.
what am I?
You've never been quiet in your life. I don't know why.
Okay, is that better? Is that better now? Yeah, that's good.
Too loud.
Too loud. Okay.
Pretty loud. Both us.
We're gonna try that now. Is that loud? Is that better? You can hear it back?
I have a question.
Yeah, please ask me a question.
Does Zepco go back that far as to some of the original spin casters, or they came much later?
I think that's true. I think that's true. Zepco goes back to the 50s, probably a war vet that came back and started Zepco. They're in Oklahoma.
Because it was such a marvelous thing for my children that you sort of couldn't tangle them. It came out.
Yeah. Now, the Zepco was, I guess it's a facto, a spinning reel, but it was a closed face.
Right, it was great. You couldn't
Spinning
tangle
reel.
it for the
Spinning
kids.
reel. And it was much more difficult to snag up and blah, 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 and
Yeah.
be wired up. Yeah, so Zepco has always been a good player because that level one, excuse me, that spinning reel was closed face, Zepco. They'd be good. They'd be good.
They call it a backlash on a level one reel.
Right.
Then they had a big mess to straighten out.
Been there, done that. So we are now into 1955, 56, 57, when our sales were expanding. And I was in the Navy at the time. Then I came back in 57. I was in electronics also. Didn't go any place. I joined the Navy Civil War. Well, I joined the Navy in Got City, California. And when I came back, I went to the University of Oregon, go Ducks! And then played football there for the better part of one season. When I got really good advice from the coach, stick to the books. Big book, you're going to be a football player in Oregon. And they had lousy teams back in those days either, so what the heck, my career was short-lived. My football career was. So I graduated in 1960, came back here to work with the company. And at the time, we really needed a good catalog. Needed a catalog. So it seemed like my first 2 years, I concentrated on building a catalog for the company, while Luhr concentrated on building the infrastructure, mechanical infrastructure of the company. He was good at that, really good at that. And incidentally, Luhr was the president of Oregon Isaac Walton League at the time. He's a fisherman and devoted guy, devoted to everything. And very soon, he decided that the Isaac Walton League was a good place to send money back east. And they never did anything for the fishing in the Northwest. So he quit Isaac Walton League and started founding president for 2 terms of the Northwest Steelheaders group. Founding member, and has been honored for that. The founder of that group, which is a big group. That is, every city has got a branch of the Northwest Steel is, and it's got a main branch in Portland that does a lot of good things, a lot of good things, good legislative and that kind of thing. Anyway, Luhr is really instrumental in that, and Luhr Jr. was really instrumental in really forming the nexus of our company that David and I benefited from. David was there in that very early time too. Lived right there next to the plant, not 20 feet away from our plant on Main Street. The little home right there, and was very instrumental. And of course, growing the company back in those days too, worked mainly on logistics and procurement and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a triad. You can see the triad right in front of this catalog right here.